interesting that we in this church we have people from different nations. It's always a blessing. Amen. Woo. Amen. Amen. Yeah, because we have different people from different nations, and when I think about people of different nations, I apologize, but I always think of a bit of a stereotype, right? Like I heard that the best heaven is where the French are the cooks, the mechanics are the Germans, the lovers are lovers are also from French, right? From France as well. And one said that and the organizing is by the Swiss. They said, is that true? And we have that nice little things, and they say that Indonesians are what? Friendly, right? And someone like no. I don't know. They said that Argentina loves steak and Maradona, right? And we all have that. Every nation, every group of people, there's some nice little things. Sometimes bad. We don't want to hear that, but sometimes it can be good, right? That like for instance, the Japanese or the Chinese are very hardworking and things like that. You see, all of these nice things are just a reminder that the way we behave, where we come from, say something about us, right? Say something about us. And I wonder, what does it mean to be God's people? I mean, when you say, oh, if you look at the Chinese hardworking, but I say the Christians, what is the word that we're supposed to come up with? Ngerti ya Bapak Ibu, identitasnya itu apa? Kalau lihat orang Jawa misalnya, sopan, loyal. Gitu. Kalau orang Kristen, itu apa? Love. Yeah, one of those things is love, right? Also, if you think about, and you're stealing my point, thank you very much, it's about holiness. But see, when we think about Christians are supposed to be holy, God's people are called to be a holy nation, right? A couple of images would kind of, come up in your mind, right? Holy, okay. Kalau orang kudus, orang suci, itu apa ya? It's a coincidence that we don't have holy here. So, when we think about holy, I would come up with someone who does a lot of religious activities, for instance. Right? Holy people, okay. He goes to church a lot, he prays, he read the Bible, he serves in Sunday school, he go to Bible camps and things like that. That's one of the classifications. Okay, holy is someone who does a lot of religious stuff. Or, when we think about holy people, we think about someone who avoids a certain lifestyle. Right? Oh, orang kudus itu nggak minum. Yeah, nggak clubbing, you see? Holy people avoid drinking, avoid cussing, avoid clubbing, avoid tattooing, avoid no. Those are the holy people. Or perhaps, when we think about someone holy, perhaps someone very nice, right? Very submissive, follow all the rules, don't break the rules. When you break all the rules, Jesus will come again, right? But that's nice. That's kind of the caricature, but actually, that's not what to be holy means. To be holy means we have to look at Leviticus 19. So let's open our Bible to Leviticus chapter 19. What does it mean to be God's people? What does it represent? Leviticus 19, our text today is coming from verse 19 to verse 9 to verse 14. Okay, Leviticus 19 verse 9 to 14. Ayo, Leviticus itu Indonesianya apa? Leviticus adalah imamat, gitu. Ya. Kalau Deuteronomy apa? Deuteronomy. Ulangan. Ini pelajaran bahasa Inggris. Okay, so slideshow. Okay, so Leviticus 19, Imamat 19. Verse 9 to 14, but I would like to start with verse 1 and 2, okay? I'll start with verse 1 and 2. You guys can listen in. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to all the congregation of the people, pay attention to the people of Israel, and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. That's the thesis. Itu summary-nya, rangkumannya. You shall be holy. And then, from verse 3 onwards until the end of Leviticus 19, it kind of gives us a detail. Okay, you are telling us, Lord, that we should be holy. What does it look like? Ngerti ya Bapak Ibu ya? Jadi dikasih tahu, kamu harus kudus. Lah, kudus itu maksudnya apa? Gitu kan. What does it look like? Maksudnya apa? And here, we're gonna see. But you have to understand, when God says you shall be holy, it doesn't mean that we have to. It's like if you're not holy, then I'm gonna punish you. It's not something like that. Holiness is more like our identity. It's like this. The best illustration is like this. You know how married couples, they start to look alike, and the married couples, right? Married couples, when they've been married for many years, they start to look alike. For instance, the husband is very loud, and the wife is very quiet. First year of marriage. And then eventually, the husband is still loud, but the wife gets louder and louder. Right? It's because we are in close proximity to someone that we're close. We kind of share the attributes, right? The closer that we are to someone, we mimic them. I mean, that's true for me. I love, for instance, I love Korean drama, and sometimes I speak like them. Oh, what's going on? See? But the point is this. See, the good news of Christianity is this. When we follow God, not that God became like us, but we became like Him. Ya, jangan kebalik. So, His goodness rub on us. Kekudusannya nular kita. Yeah? His quality, God's quality invade us. So that when God says, you shall be holy, it's not like, you better be holy or else. No. It's like, you are my people. We are in a relationship. So, if you stick with me, you shall be like me. It's an identity, not a performance. Okay? We will be holy because we are in a relationship with God. Turns out, if I can summarize before we go here, to be holy means, thank you, it's correct, it's love. To be holy means to love others in concrete ways. That's basically Leviticus 19. Okay? To be holy means to love others in concrete ways. Jadi orang kudus itu bukan suka gereja, hobi pelayanan, tapi sebetulnya jadi orang kudus itu mengasihi secara konkret. And we will see that in Leviticus. Let's read together. Okay. This is Leviticus 19:9-10. When you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap your field right up to its edge. Neither shall you gather the gleanings after your harvest. And you shall not strip your vineyard bare, neither shall you gather the fallen grapes of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and for the sojourner. I am the Lord your God. You shall not steal. You shall not deal falsely. You shall not lie to one another. You shall not swear by my name falsely, and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. And finally, you shall not oppress your neighbor or rob him. The wages of a hired worker shall not remain with you all night until the morning. You shall not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block before the blind, but you shall fear your God. I am the Lord. Amen. So, church, here we see that we're gonna delve in Leviticus 19 in two-part sermon. This is part 1. Okay. So to be holy means to love in concrete ways, but how does it look like? Number 1, we're gonna look at 3 reasons today. Number 1, to be holy means to show mercy. Okay, to show mercy. If you look back to verse 9 to 10, that verse. Okay, let me just show you so that you can look up when I explain it. That verse is about landowners. Okay? Israelites who own land, God's telling them, hey you guys, don't harvest all the produce. Hasilnya jangan semua dipanen. Gitu. Panennya jangan semua diambil. Ya. Don't harvest all the produce of the land, but leave some at the edge of their fields where they fell. So the word, maybe you're not familiar, the gleanings is actually a part of corn or grain that harvesters accidentally drop. They'll sometimes drop that, you know. And what God is saying is, now two things. You have a vast field, right? Don't harvest all the way at the edge. Leave them. So that others, the poor and the foreigner can take it. Remember the story of Ruth and Boaz? That's what happened. Boaz, landowner, Ruth came along and picked the grain at the edges of the field. Okay, so two instructions. Number one, don't harvest all the way at the edge. Number two, when you do your harvesting, you will leave some. You will drop something off. You know, leave them. Don't do like this. After you harvest, you go back the second time, right? Because there's a saying over there: do not go over your second time eating. Because if you go over the second time, what happens? You end up picking it up, right? Those seeds or grains or gleanings that accidentally drop. So, what God is saying through Moses and Leviticus is that leave them those produce be, so that the poor, they can come along, they can pick them up. Okay? It's kind of interesting because sometimes it's also a really cool mechanism. It will save the poor the embarrassment to beg, right? Because if they come to you and they beg, it's an attack to their dignity. But if you just leave it, and they'll come to pick it up, there's an effort from them. Ada usaha dari mereka untuk ngambil gitu. Jadi nggak cuma dikasih, nggak cuma meminta. So see the thing, the landowners, those things, those grains, they are not leftovers, but I am voluntarily giving a few of these gleanings for the poor, for the needy. So that out of the abundance of the wealthy, the poor and the foreigner can be taken care of. That's God's mechanism. It's kind of cool. And it's very interesting, you know what? In other religions around Israel at that time, the portion left in the field, they will pick it up, the portion, they will pick it up and they will give it to the gods, serve it to the gods. But here, the seeds and the gleanings, they give it to the poor. This is God's heart, you see. Show mercy to the weak. And behind that commandment lies Leviticus 25 to 23. Behind this command, it's reminding the landowners, hey guys, the land is not yours, it's mine. So I want you to leave some for the foreigners and the strangers, because you are also once stranger and a foreigner in my land. Nangkap ya Bapak Ibu ya. Jadi kamu, tanah itu milikku. Ya, kamu dulu tuh juga orang miskin dan orang pendatang, orang asing. Maka ayo kamu tinggalin buat yang lain. See, God is the God who cares for the poor and the foreigner. He intends a portion of every acre to be reserved for them. And when they obey this, two things happen. Number one, obviously God cares for the poor. God cares for the downtrodden. Number two, God is telling the landowners, the one who has money, not to be greedy. God is the God who provides. That's how God is doing. That's what to be holy means, to show mercy to the weak. Secondly, what God is doing, to be holy means to speak the truth. If you look at verse 11 to 12, right? Let me go back. You can see the repetition of the Ten Commandments. Ten Commandments, you have it in a few places in the Old Testament. Leviticus is one of those things that they kind of explicate or explain the Ten Commandments. So here it has to do with speak the truth. Don't steal, don't lie, don't deal falsely, don't swear by my name. See, here's how it's connected between the first one and this second section. Okay? So you must speak the truth, meaning those who are poor must not steal from the wealthy. Right? Don't steal. Because why? Because remember, God has provided for you. So don't steal from the wealthy. Similarly, the wealthy, if let's say something, because actually the context is in the law court. Ya, konteksnya itu dalam pengadilan. Okay? If let's say the wealthy catch the poor stealing, okay, the wealthy must also bring him to justice. Because stealing is wrong no matter what. You cannot just, oh, because you're poor, I'm going to let you go. Okay? So there's that double idea right there. Okay? Just because life is hard doesn't mean you can sin, right? And just because other people sin doesn't mean you can sin too. Sometimes we justify our sin by saying, my sin is not worse than him. So, yeah. But the context again is dealing primarily with stealing and defrauding. I mean, someone would, for instance, swear falsely. I'm sorry, swear falsely, not falsely. Okay, yeah. By my name, so I profane the name of God's name. So what is this saying is you don't deceive using God's name. Right? Sometimes we will use God's name and then we will say, hey, God told me this. Last night I had a dream and you should, you should pay for my meal today. And something like that. I don't know. So it's similar. Sometimes in a court, someone can pay you, hey, you be my witness. Today, when we go up to court, I'm gonna, because I pay you this amount, you must speak for me and against my, my opponent. So God is saying, no, you have to speak the truth. See, when lying becomes a habit, it can easily build up to justifying dishonorable activities, right? Just stop at one lie. You see, someone who, let's say, embezzle the company's money, I don't think they'll end up one day and said, today I'm going to embezzle some money. I don't think so. Okay. It might start with, I don't know, borrowing, quote unquote, a little from the petty cash, right? Pinjam dikit lah dari kas kecil, and then from there goes bigger and bigger and bigger. Similarly, we have to be holy. Actually means to speak the truth. We must not say something that is true. We must not say something that is not true, and you must not affirm something that is false. Now, and finally, the last one. To be holy means to show mercy. To be holy means to speak the truth. And finally, to be holy means to care for the less fortunate. If you look at verse 13 and verse 14, very interesting here. Now, what's the difference between this one and the previous one? Because you got stealing it as well. So the difference is this. In verse 11 and verse 12, you are speaking between equals. Okay? So equals, or at least someone who is able to, okay, I'm a victim of injustice, I can take you to court. Okay? Even if they're not equals, at least he has the power of the influence or some means to take it to justice. Okay? So equals, or at least have some means. Now in verse 13 to 14, these are people who are very, very weak. Can't do anything about their situation. And God is saying, you have to care for them. Okay? Let me just go back to verse, there you go, 13 to 14. Do not defraud, rob your neighbor. Do not rob here is different from do not steal back in the few verses before. do not rob has the idea of force, take away with violence. Okay? And the example that he's giving is the second one. Do not hold back the wages of hired worker overnight. You see, in those times, in the the Old Testament time, some people, they have to live from paycheck to paycheck. It's very hard to get a job. For example, you are someone poor, or you have a disadvantage, disabled in some sense. So meaning, if you have to pay, finding a job is difficult, and usually all the landowners, they already have employees. Employees. So we hire one. And now you end up depending on whatever jobs that you can get. So while it's not illegal to delay the paycheck until tomorrow, it's going to be problematic for this kind of workers because they have no financial cushion. So late paycheck can cost them pain, and we must not. God's saying that the people of Israel, they must not do that. They must honor the work of the people, and they must not exploit them. And another example that God is giving us, that the book is giving us, is do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block in front of the blind. And if you think about it, well, if I curse the deaf, can he hear me? Of course not, right? Just if you curse the deaf, you can't hear. If you put a stumbling block, the blind person can't see you. Right? There's someone who says that there's a lady who was stopped by a policeman, right? And then the policeman came over to her and said, "Hey, where are your papers?" And he was confused. It's my first time coming with the policeman. My papers. I don't have my papers. It's until December. I haven't had my final papers. He said, no, not that papers. License, your registration. Oh, okay, license registration. Okay, but sorry. Okay, ma'am, I'm gonna write you a ticket. I know why. Why do you write me a ticket? Don't you know what's wrong? Don't you know your fault? Why I have to give you a ticket? And then I don't know. Well, you just ran a red light. Did you not see the red light? The police officer said. Oh, the red light. Yes, I see the red light. Then why did you? Why did you walk through it? Drive through it. Thank you. Why did you drive through it? Yeah, I saw the red light, sir, but I did not see you. Because I did not see you, so See, it's the thing as well here with the deaf, with the blind. There are people who are defenseless, and sometimes we can still see that in our news. Someone who's very poor. We know that he's poor, but people would still do bad things to him or to her. You see, here God is saying, God sees your bullying. If there's any bullying, if there's mistreatment, I don't know why some would do that, whether it's just an entertainment or it's as a way of to mock or just pure evil, doesn't matter. Sometimes you just make a joke out of it, right? If someone who's deaf or blind, it's like asking the blind people, "Hey, what color should you like?" Of course, doesn't know, right? But the point is, God will hold people accountable for any kind of mocking behavior directed at vulnerable people. If you fear God, you should be courteous, you should be helpful. And so, Leviticus 19 says that to be holy means you got to show mercy, you've got to speak the truth, and you've got to care for the less fortunate. Now what can we do, right? These are big words, right? Okay, whoa, hold up. Show mercy, care for the less fortunate, speak the truth. That's are so big, general, abstract words. But let me give you two practical application, okay? Out of Leviticus 19, part 1. We can see from this text that holiness is practical. Betul ya? Holiness is practical. holiness must not be intellectual or ritual. It must be practical. It includes, if you will read later, it includes we are to be generous to the poor. We have to be just to the workers. We have to have integrity. We have to be considerate. We have to fight for equality. We have to have honest business, and so on and so forth. Very practical. Leviticus 19 is very practical. Unlike, say, the book of John. Very high up, very spiritual. That means holiness must be practical. Now, imagine with me, one way to put it is like this. Imagine a Ferrari, okay? You see red Ferrari on the parking lot in front of the church, let's say. But then, the Ferrari looks beautiful on the outside, right? But has no engine. Our faith can be like that too. Beautiful church, beautiful songs, beautiful doctrines, handsome people, beautiful ladies. But we lack the power necessary to do what is right. Just like a car, nice on the outside, but doesn't get anywhere, you see? The same. Faith looks nice on the outside, but doesn't get you the places we're supposed to go. That is, to glorify God and to love others as ourselves. See, we don't usually live in big, important moments. I believe that we live in little moments. Those little moments usually determine what happens next. Let me explain what I mean by that. Imagine Jim. Nobody is named Jim, right? Okay. Imagine James. Yeah, Jim. Okay. Imagine Jim and Hans. Okay. Sounds like a villain's name. Okay. Imagine Jim and Hans had a fender bender. Okay. Fender bender itu apa ya? Car crash. Because car crash sounds so horrible. Okay. They had a fender bender. Ada nyerempet mobilnya ya. Okay. They had a fender bender on the road. And clearly it was Jim's fault. Clearly it was Jim's fault. But he argued it wasn't so. You know, one of those things, his fault, but oh. So he got out of the car, he would shout bad words at Hans because it's not his fault. And Hans, obviously, he fell and was the victim. He fought back too. So the police came, tried to settle the matter, but obviously it did not. You see, Jim could have stopped it there. He could have easily, okay, sorry, I lose my cool, I was at fault. But no. He persisted in saying that he's not at fault. So the matter is taken to court. Lawyers are paid to battle it out. In the end, it got dragged out. In the end, what's the point that Jim is trying to do? What's the end result of dragging this simple incident? If Jim, at that moment, could have swallowed his pride, admitted his mistake, apologized, the case would probably be closed, right? That's it, done, selesai. Maaf, saya salah. Bagaimana saya bisa mengganti rugi, gitu kan? Selesai kan? Finished. Sure, you might have to pay for the car repair or any medical bills, but with the right attitude, you know, things did not have to escalate so far, right? I remember my first time I got a car crash, it was very peaceful. I don't know if I've told this before. Very peaceful. I was singing the Lord's song. I was singing the Christian song. Then, bam! From behind. Wow, suffering because of Christ. You see. Menderitakan Yesus, wah tabrak gitu. And then the lady who really ended me was actually the one. It's funny because she saw my name. Hey, you're a Cal student? Yes. How did you know? Yeah, I was the administrator, and I was the one who accepted you. What? And so like, can you give me away from you? Everything just went slow. I'm sorry, I did not pay attention. Blah blah blah. Finish. So sick, finish. It's not dragging. You see, the point I'm telling you, with Jim and Hans is, you know that few seconds, right? That few seconds, Jim can choose. Right? Between, I will stand my ground. I know I'm fault, but I don't care. I must be right. Right? And between, shoot, I made a mistake. Does it look good on me? I need to humble myself. But, okay lah. Itu berapa detik Bapak Ibu? Sedikit ya? Very short moments. But see, our life, thing can matter in those few seconds. Small good act might save you the long drama when everybody loses. See, practical holiness can mean doing small things well. Living the grain, don't lie, don't steal, pay people on time. Those, I think, are small things. Common sense, gitu, right? Common sense. Not big things, small things well. Practical holiness might look like that. At home, it might mean cleaning the garage, I don't know, helping your spouse, small things. At home, it might mean buying presents for your in-laws, Christmas presents. At home, it might mean having that difficult talk that you've been avoiding for so long. Yeah? At work, it might mean finishing your tasks early so you can help out others. It might mean, offering your help to take over someone's job for an hour so that he or she can go to his son's birthday party. It might mean encouraging others at work. It might mean getting to know people personally. It might mean pointing out their performance to your boss. Sometimes at work, it's very hard to know the performance of people, right? They all know the bad things about the gossips, and usually gossips are negative rather than positive. It might mean you can just say to your boss or your supervisor, hey, Pa, hey, Boo, that guy, he worked so late yesterday because he wanted to make sure that the project is done well. Because in a big company, you can have what's called depersonalization, depersonalisasi, when everybody just know you by your function. They don't know you by your name. Hey, call the accountant. Yang accountant, orang akuntan sini, orang finance sini. Kali dengar namanya, betul? And when he makes a mistake, then everybody knows. But when he does a good job, no one knows. Betul nggak? Yang kerja ya, mungkin bisa tahu. Those who are in a corporate role, they will know this. Maybe it might mean simply appreciating them, your coworkers, getting to know them, pointing out their performance to your boss. At church, what are the small things that you can do? It might be saying hi to newcomers. It might mean stepping up to lead small groups. It might mean saying no. At church sometimes, sungkan ya, nolak pendeta gitu kan ya. I don't like to say no because this is the work of the Lord. It might mean sometimes saying no. It might mean giving real inputs. Sometimes, one of those people who like to criticize, hey, the worship should be done like this. Okay, thank you for your input. Will you sing? Will you join our worship team? No. You see, just criticize. It might mean just, okay, I look at this problem here. I think you should be doing like this. Would you help us? Sure. I'll. See, it might mean small things. Well, and you can start there. I remember a few months ago, there's a suicide news of this famous Korean pop star, Suli. Yeah, teenagers will know. Yeah, she got killed. She got killed because she committed suicide because of hate comments. Hate comments. Just say small. Because not nobody, because somehow she did not get the appreciation that she deserves, she needs. Just from hate comments, or at least that's how the media portrays to be, she committed suicide. It's small things. It's small things. So I like how Roy Gain put it like this. When religion does not sufficiently interact with secular needs, so all the everyday needs at work, at church, at work, at home, at church as well, with the way you treat people. If religion does not sufficiently interact with secular needs, it will become arrogant and irrelevant. There's deep truth in this statement. If our holiness is not practical, then it will be arrogant and irrelevant. Now, in the beginning of our sermon, I said to you that the commandments are not for one people, but for the whole nation. It's true. This is what the nation of Israel was supposed to be. They're supposed to offer a glimpse of heaven on earth. That means they're supposed to show a different value, a different priorities, a different way of doing things. It might not make everyone happy, but it will please the Lord. Holiness, secondly, as a practical thing, just have two practical implications. It simply means doing the right things often. Pay the workers, right? Care for the poor. It's common sense. Do small things well. Do right things often. Speak the truth. It's very hard nowadays, right? I don't know if you know this, but back in June last year, there's a medical doctor in Britain. He is working at the Department for Work and Pensions. He was undergoing training as a health and disabilities assessor. Okay, and then the topic of transgenderism came up, and he was asked how should we address a transgender person. Okay. One senior employee replied that transgender people should be addressed by their preference. So if it's a guy, but he felt that he's a woman, you need to address me as she. Yeah. Bahasa Indonesia lebih enak ya. Nggak ada dulu kamu. But it's a very big thing in Canada and US and Britain. So he said, no, we have to. What is their preference, and we need to say that pronoun. What is Indonesian for pronoun? Okay, so you get all what I'm saying, right? Okay, so you have to address them according to the correct pronouns. But one doctor, Dr. Matt Careth, you know this news? He said no. As a Christian, he could not use pronouns in that way in good conscience. No, I would not address someone who is biologically male with a she. I will not address someone who is biologically female with a he, or a z, or a c, whatever, a lot of pronouns. Okay? This is Dr. David McGrath. Christian doc loses job over trans view. He was given a chance to, change his opinion, but so he got fired from his job. But actually, this is not new, by the way. What's new is this, because I think last year there's a French high school teacher in Virginia who got fired for this as well. I forgot his name, but there's another guy. This is not new. You got fired because of your, how you speak the truth. Okay. What's new about this news is this. It's just very recent. Okay. He said, because why would you not address female and male like that? Because I believe in Genesis 1:37. So God created man in His own image. In the image of God, He created them. Male and female, He created them. So, he said this verse support the view that people are immutably male or female. So he said it will be irresponsible, it will be dishonest for me as a health professional to accommodate or encourage someone, who wants to be called otherwise. So he got fired. And then he took it to the court, right? And by a decision on October 2019, so last month, okay, a unanimous decision was handed down by an employment tribunal in England, determined that, here's the reasoning that they gave, okay? This is what shocked the news. Okay, so Dr. Margaret, you said that you will not do that because you believe in Genesis 1:37? Yes, sir. The Britain court, okay, we said Genesis 1:27 is incompatible with human rights and dignity. The verse in the Bible, ironically, the one that says we are made in the image of God, is incompatible with the idea of human dignity. So this is not new. I mean, in some things it's not, this is new, but some things is not new. State-sponsored speech coercion, you know, when the state tells you, hey, you must address that person according to what he wants, that's not new. It happened in Canada. Well, it's long, okay? If you know, key figures is Jordan Peterson, right? And then pressure from an employer to conform to transgender ideology or face being fired is not new. Happened in Virginia, December 2018. What is new, we haven't seen before, is this type of reasoning. That a person believe in the Bible, in this case Genesis 1:27, is not right. It doesn't match with the Western tradition of human dignity and fundamental rights. To put it simply, now, and this has happened in Britain, which I believe may not stay in Britain, right? May not stay in Britain for long. That means today, belief in Genesis 1:27 is now a public enemy of human rights. Serem nggak sih? Believing Genesis equals enemy for human dignity. It's very ironic, because we have human dignity from what? From the image of God. The very first that births the movement of we have to treat everyone equally, inherent meaning, not because of what they do, but simply because they exist. That verse is now being used to fight against as an enemy for human rights and dignity. Divorce human dignity from the image of God, and a person's worth becomes relative to one's usefulness. It's a scary world we live in, that this is happening. And he's one guy speaking the truth, and that's what he got. But sometimes it can be very disheartening. Can we do small right things like him, or other right things that we can do? Another example, let me close with that. Maybe this is a very famous example. Someone in the past. And I'm just going to go very quick. Maybe you've heard the name of Dr. Bernard Nathanson. Anybody knows that name? Very famous in the 60s. So Dr. Bernard Nathanson, he was a skilled doctor. Okay. And when he was doing his medical school, he had unwanted pregnancy. So he gave his pregnant lover the money to get illegal abortion. Okay. And then the second time he did that, now he had 3 marriages. Okay, he was in between marriage, and then he had one of those lovers, and then she got pregnant, and he himself operated on her. He essentially aborted his own children. Bernard Nathanson believed that abortion is a choice, okay, and because for him, in his eyes, it's something that is right. It's the right thing to do, because he wanted to help poor mothers. Okay, poor mothers, they need to have a right. He said. So he went on to become a champion for abortion. Okay, and in the 1970, Nathanson began running the nation's largest abortion clinic. It says that it has the most abortion cases in the West. The Center for Reproductive and Sexual Health, known to the staff members by the acronym CRASH. Abortion crash. So, and then in 1973, abortion was made legal in the US. The famous Roe versus Wade. Nathanson decided to make a career change. He was a doctor, handling mothers. Now he became someone handling babies, in St. Luke's Hospital Center. And that time, by the appointment of God, I believe, it's the first time the technology of ultrasound was founded. So you can see what's inside. Yeah? What's inside the womb as it happens. And Dr. Bernard Nathanson was surprised that from, scientifically speaking, because now the technology, you can see what's going on in the fetus. He was convinced that human life existed within the womb. That during conception, life happens. So in the article he wrote in New England Journal of Medicine, he felt that, okay, I was wrong. And he said it's not because of his belief in God, because he's an atheist. He's a Jew, he's an atheist, okay? He's a hardcore atheist. But he said, because I look at with ultrasound technology, with science, abortion is killing. And he said, I have presided over 60,000 deaths. Can you imagine one day in heaven and he will come and he'll see 60,000 people that has been aborted by him? So he felt fully killed, right? He didn't know where to go. Because in the past he believed that he believed like this. He believed that a society's morality must be judged by the treatment of the weak and the defenseless. I agree with that. If you want to know whether your nation is good, look at how the nation treats the most helpless. In his mind, the most helpless at that time is the poor people. Now, because of ultrasound, he found another class, most helpless. That is, unborn babies. Lebih helpless lagi. Yeah? And so he produces this movie called, and he would show with ultrasound what end up when abortion is happening. How the baby is actually fighting the suction machine as he or she got ripped apart. And there's one scene when the baby's mouth is like giving a silent scream. That's the movie called, the documentary called. And this is what, and by the way, this is Permai. He said that we can see the child moving rather serenely in the uterus. The child senses aggression in its sanctuary. We see the child's mouth wide open in a silent scream. That movie changed the whole game. But Nathanson was plagued with his guilt. He was in hardened atheist. He became convinced abortion was wrong. But what finally got him to God was the actions, was the moral fortitude of the pro-life movements. The people who blockade abortion clinics, who just remain in their peaceful march. Bernard Nathan was so amazed by their perseverance that he got drawn to him, to faith. And then in 1996, Nathanson was baptized and received into the Catholic Church. He chose as his godmother someone who is, pro-lifers. She was willing to suffer for a year of imprisonment for blockading abortion facilities. It's one of those rare victory, but we do see it. Sometimes we see in the news, it's just lots of bad news about Christians, right? But sometimes God gave us victories, good stories like Bernard Nathanson. Literally, he was like Saul and then Paul, right? Literally, he was pro-abortion, the champion of abortion, become the champion for the unborn. God, I wondered if we could witness his baptism. The whole world at that time could just stop and, wow, Lord, you changed a man like him. He got face to face with truth. At first through science. Okay. But he found forgiveness through Jesus Christ. He said, what's the difference between, because he's a Jew, right? Kan kalau Jew itu apa? Bar mitzvah, right? And they had. So what's the difference? When it was, I think this is coming from one book, he said, I remember when I was born, mitzvahs, I don't know, is that true? when I was bar mitzvah, I felt fear. But when I got baptized, I felt grace and forgiveness. Very different kind of God. Okay. The point I'm telling you about Nathanson is this, simply that sometimes God allows us, so when we do the right things, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be popular. It might cost you, it probably will, but we must persevere. We must go on. And things that we can do. Because we believe that what God promises, what God says is always right. What God does is always true. Yeah? So we stand behind His power. We stand behind His power. And I will close with this verse. 1 Peter 2:12. Live such good lives among the pagans that, though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day He visits us. So I pray Leviticus 19 will give us a simple, two practical things today. Do small things well. Yang kecil-kecil, lakukan dengan baik. Bekerja yang baik. Mengasihi dengan baik. And do the right things often. Challenge the culture. Speak the truth. Give a different story. Why? Because we have a God who shows mercy. It is Jesus Christ. We have a God who speaks the truth, and He got killed because of that. Jesus Christ. And we have a God who cares for the weak, the helpless. Jesus became a baby. He can't become just like a man, like a Terminator coming in. But no, right? He became a baby. No. Jesus became a fetus. Yeah. When Gabriel came in and said to Mary, you have a son. It doesn't suddenly 9 months, right? But Jesus became a fetus. He knew, right? Jesus showed mercy. Jesus spoke honestly. Jesus cared for the helpless. Because we are once the helpless. We are the one who is His enemies. But He loves us. He accepts us so that we can show the same love to others. Let's pray.